Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Irreplaceable Man podcast. I am joined with my amazing... I thought you were going to say something.
No,
I thought you were going to say something.
I was waiting for...
With my amazing, talented, patient, supportive, forgiving, powerful wife and partner. Maybe one of these intros, you're going to do this and
I
you're
know.
going to give me all the accolades.
I was just thinking like one day I'm going to have to do the intro.
It's all good. Hey, Robert. Hey, Grant. So, guys, on this episode, we're going to start diving into communication and literally everything that has to do with it. And over the next 4 weeks, obviously, you've already heard this. If you're inside the group, if you're listening on the podcast and you want to get these things a month ahead of time, join our Facebook community, the Irreplaceable Man Facebook community, and you can get all this stuff live with us every single Monday when we record. And you can bring questions, you can bring challenges, and we can help you out live on the podcast recording or even before and after. So today we're going to start the next 4 weeks of diving into communication, because just like trust, communication is something that I think almost everybody that I talk to is struggling with. And just like the trust types, there are things that we don't know because we've never been taught. And it's not our fault. It's our problem. And so over the next 4 weeks together, we're going to dig into everything communication. Tips, tricks, techniques, strategies, you name it, to get more efficient, more effective, better, deeper, more vulnerable, more open, more honest, more truthful, more timely communication with your spouse. Now, if this is the first time you've been listening, or the first time you have listened to the podcast, amazing. And if you are a regular, thank you for coming back. First timer, thanks for being here for the first time. Couple things. If you haven't joined our group, make sure you join the Irreplaceable community on Facebook. Tons of free stuff in there, live recording in there, free training on Thursdays. Make sure you come to that. I'm going to figure out a way to run that live in the group. There's a ton of our assessments in there. There's guides in there. There's all kinds of stuff to get you moving. If you don't already have our 12-step guide to becoming an irreplaceable husband, literally the exact formula that I used to make sure that this lady right next to me stayed next to me and was actually happy about it and not a kidnap victim, then grab that 12-step guide. And that's it for right now. Let's get rocking. We've had a lot of people join our mastermind, so I do want to mention that. A lot of guys in the last couple of weeks have joined our mastermind, and that makes me really excited because now I know that those guys are all on a path to breaking free from something that was holding them back and have a new structure in place to not let it come back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty amazing. So let me say hi to the guys. So Grant, Aaron, Justin, what's up, guys? There's a lot of guys on here. Robert, welcome. A lot of new guys on here. This is awesome. Guys, drop your comments in, drop your questions in. Let's have this thing be interactive. Just because we're recording the podcast doesn't mean you guys we can't answer your questions. It's going to help the podcast listeners as well. So what's the first thing you think about when you think about communication? Because like the trust piece, I think when I talk to guys, they think about talking.
Yeah.
And they think about almost like, how do I just start communicating with my wife in the most simple way? And obviously there's a lot more depth there. You're right.
Yeah. I just don't want
there's a lot
real quick.
There's a lot more depth there that we have to talk about. So what do you think about when it comes to communication? Where was our communication broken?
Okay. Well, before I answer that question, I think where it starts is just the willingness to be vulnerable.
Okay.
With each other.
Vulnerable. I'm sorry, boo.
I'm very tired.
I know, I love you.
Very busy day yesterday.
The willingness to be vulnerable, yes.
The willingness to be vulnerable.
No, I guess I'll conscious.
Okay. Then what was your next question?
Go into that for a second, because vulnerability is scary.
Well, it is, yeah, especially when you're communicating with someone who, you know, historically or in recent experience has not been easy to talk to or communicate with
Yeah.
or be around.
And I'm sure that registers with some of these guys.
Yeah.
And for some of them, they're not the difficult one. Their wives are.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not,
yeah.
I'm not talking about the guys here. I'm talking about all the guys. Like some of these
They're
guys,
calling people out.
their wives are the masculine driven people that are the difficult one.
Right.
Yet at the same time, how often do we hear from those type of guys? Because your wife does not want to be driving in masculine energy. She wants to be in her feminine, which is still your problem because she wants you to step up and be in your masculine so she can step back and be in her feminine. Like, I don't even know where I was going with that. I completely just blanked. Oh, the point is,
Yes.
regardless of, you know, like if it's an avatar or whatever you want to call it, a type like me that was the driver, where we were communicating, and I thought I was doing a good job by sharing my feelings, but I was sharing my fear and I was sharing my emotions without understanding my emotions.
Right. And you were saying whatever popped into your head.
Yeah.
And you thought that that was being truthful and honest, but it wasn't. It was just like whatever popped into your head in that moment.
Yeah. And the other thing that we're going to get into is the nonverbal, which is my communication, because I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand my feelings enough. I didn't understand my emotions enough. My communication was in my actions and behavior, which were fear driven, which
and
were
your body language too.
which
very
were
simple.
non-serving.
Yeah.
Yet it's almost like almost felt like I was trapped inside this like straitjacket to where I felt a certain way. I just didn't understand how to articulate it. But like I could be pissed off and I could slam doors and give you a cold shoulder and, you know, yell and scream about things. I just had no other skill to articulate, one, and two, I didn't know if I was safe to articulate, even if I did have the skill. Like, will she understand or will she reject me? Because I'm dealing with rejection in my life in general. My whole professional life is literally, the success is based on not being rejected. So I'm being successful at not being rejected, which means I'm making a lot of money. But like, I didn't understand how to share what I was feeling. I didn't understand where it was coming from. I didn't understand any of that. So one thing we're going to talk about is how do we actually learn about ourselves to be able to communicate that. So on the Thursday trainings, and we'll start it today. On the Thursday trainings, we're going to start to dig into strategies and techniques to be able to understand ourselves better, communicate with ourselves, ask ourselves information, journal things out, look for patterns, and then start to share at a very small level with our wives so that they understand us better and they're not just guessing.
Well, I think communication, you know, being able to talk to your partner fully and communicate openly, it starts with being really honest with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what I wrote. It said, communication is about stepping out of your comfort zone, out of your own way, committing to learning the skills and habits necessary to operate in a different, more elevated manner when communicating with your wife, yourself, or any other person. If you don't have what you want in your life, it's because you aren't communicating effectively what you want. And so there really is no path to get it. Like there's no opening, there's no possibility, there's nothing being created there. What I said was, remember, not all these are for you and your relationship. Adopt the ones that you feel that'll actually help you and then adapt them into your specific situation. So some of you guys are going to associate with our, whatever you call it, story and our example. And then, hey, Anthony, And then some of you are going to be like, oh, that's the opposite, man. My wife's the driver. Well, in that case, it's still on you because something has to be released there.
Yeah.
Slide this way.
Why? Well, no, they can see.
It's getting the edge of your face.
No, they can see me. It's just covered with the chat.
Okay, you're good now.
I almost fell backwards.
So there's so many questions I have, and I want to keep this structured for the guys. While you are here, I think it's important that these guys get any type of questions answered. I mean, we got a lot of great guys, a lot of new guys on here. Erland, Justin, Grant, all new guys on here, which is great. So guys, remember, drop your comments in or your questions in so that we can talk about that, because whatever you're dealing with, you know for a fact other guys are dealing with that. So we want to make sure that we can help you and address whatever concerns you have today. Because look, at the end of the day, we don't want you to then repeat tomorrow and then tomorrow and then tomorrow and then tomorrow, right? And then next Sunday is the same old thing and Monday's the same old thing. Like, that cycle is going to end in one of two places: divorce or a miserable marriage, right? Neither of which we want, especially if you want to be with our spouse. If you don't want to be with your spouse, you cut that shit now. Still do the work on you, and then find somebody that you're really happy with. Still, you got to be happy with you first.
Yes, you have to love yourself first.
Yeah. So today I want to go through some common communication challenges in a marriage. They're going to be type of things. However, there might be one you're like, damn, I didn't realize that. Just like the trust types.
Well, who sits down and goes, okay, these are our different communication styles. We had to figure a lot of that out. And even I had to understand like my communication, I had to understand my communication.
Talk about
style.
that.
You are louder and more like aggressive than I am. Obviously, I think we've picked up on that. But I have to sit and think about things and process a lot longer than you do.
What do you mean?
Well, I'll give an example.
Okay.
There's some issue that we might be having. You immediately are like, problem solve this. You've got like 20 different ideas going 20 different directions, trying to figure out what's happening. I'm like, no, whereas in that moment for me, I have to just sit and think and understand what's going on for me before I can go back into the situation and really work on it. Whereas you like to work on it right then and there and figure it out and go forward and do it. And I need to process through that. And we had to work on that.
Well, we had to communicate how we both break issues or challenges down in the moment. That communication had to start right away. The way that I like to break a problem down or a challenge is by communicating and talking about it.
I know.
You don't do that. And I was like, why is she not answering me? Why does she not want to talk about this right now? I'm being a good husband. I'm talking about it. I'm asking questions and she's shutting down. This doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wasn't shutting down.
No, I know.
I had
that's how it was back then.
I know. I had to like go inward and process like my thoughts and my feelings and understand what is real and what isn't real.
Yeah.
Because that's where we would get into a lot of communication.
Explain the real versus not real.
Like in the moment, I felt like I had to defend myself in certain scenarios versus actually like my immediate response was to like defend when all I really needed to do was like think and process.
Yeah.
And your style of just like, let's get it done. Let's figure it out. Let's do it right now. That caused me to be defensive because I couldn't process as quickly or can't process as quickly as you can.
Do you mean real or not real also meaning trauma versus present moment?
Yeah.
I want you to explain that one, please.
Like,
can you please explain that one?
Real or was I not watching? Real or not real
Like what's real in the moment, what's
Yeah,
not real.
yeah. I think that, hold on. See, now I have to process my response.
Unfortunately, you have to keep going.
No, I know.
because-
I'm trying to think of a good example of what would be my traumas, especially like in our relationship. I immediately felt, before I understood how you worked,
Yeah.
I immediately would start defending myself, but I didn't need to defend myself in all these scenarios that we could be getting into. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I
But
had to
here's the thing.
understand what the defense was, why I was trying to defend myself versus why I couldn't come up with.
Well, I think that was clear though, is because as an aggressor,
Yes.
by the way, guys, quick plug. If you haven't downloaded our replaceable man assessment, I'm serious.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm just like the timing, how you weave that in.
You have to weave it in when it's
No, I
appropriate.
know.
I don't want to just list off a bunch of stuff at the end. I want you guys to know, like, this is appropriate. If you haven't downloaded our replaceable man assessment to understand
Okay.
what your avatar is and how you're going into your conversations, your situations, how you're driven, that kind of thing. If you need that, just drop a comment in here, assessment, right? If you're live inside the group, drop assessment. And if you're listening on the podcast, just jump into the group and drop assessment, or just go find it. It's inside the group and you can grab it. There are 10 replaceable man avatars on there. And I'll tell you right now, I was the problem solver, the aggressor, the check writer, just to name a few. There's 7 other ones.
I think the problem for us, like not every scenario for me had to be solved. And I think that's where we had trouble.
I feel like there's a part of me that said, if we don't deal with it now, it's gonna come back to bite me. One, it's gonna be more pressurized next time. I should be dealing with it because that's what she needs me to do. That's how she needs me to show up for her, although we weren't communicating that. So it was just me guessing. And I just don't want to forget about it, right? Because I can forget about stuff. And so I wanted to deal with it right then and there because I wanted to move it out of our way.
And I mean, this obviously larger issues and things that needed to really be discussed, we would. But I the little things where it's actually a miscommunication.
Yeah.
Where you just are not understanding the other person. And I think that for me, I would get frustrated because I didn't feel heard or understood. And so that was my I'm going to go off
your trauma.
Yeah.
So there's something else I wanted to add there as a problem solver. I mean, I felt like that's how I added value, because in my business, I'm a problem solver and that's how I add value and that's how we get paid. So I'm almost rewarded. I am rewarded for problem solving. And I talk to a lot of guys, whether they're business owners or not, who say, I can do this at work at this level and I can't do it at home. Why does it not work like that? Unfortunately, the skills aren't transferable. And I didn't understand that at first. And hey, Brian, I wanted accolade. Remember, we've talked about this before. I wanted to be approved. I wanted to be appreciated. I wanted to be significant. And so the programming I had was, well, the problem solver gets rewarded. So all those things I mentioned earlier, like I didn't want to forget it. I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to have to bring it up again and it'd be like supercharged at that point and it'd be a blow up when we could have just dealt with it then. And also on top of that, I think the whole context I was thinking about it was, as a problem solver, this is how I get my needs met. Weirdly. And so then if I wasn't able to problem solve it, talk to you about it, talk through it with you, then I turned into the aggressor. And I want you guys, remember, our job is to build structure for you. And that's what we do. So with the 6 trust types, all of you guys that have gotten it, I've talked to, you were able to see like, oh shit, I broke that one, then that one, and it broke that one and dismantled this one and then broke this one. So with the replaceable man assessment, you'll be able to see like, oh shit, I start off as this guy, I go to this guy, this is my pattern, this is how I can start to change it, and we can put a structure in place. So I started off as the problem solver, and then I went into the aggressor when I didn't get my way, which get my way was really like the little scared boy in me didn't get approved of or pat on the back or the head and said, no, you're doing a great job, you're okay. Because that's what I was missing. So guys, the number one thing that we have to do in ourselves that no one else can do for us, I mean, obviously I can help you with structure, is we've got to figure out the fuel behind the fire. We have to figure out what's fueling this anger, this resentment, this pain, this aggression, this quiet, you know, especially if you're one of the guys that's like a ghost, which is another avatar, or the people pleaser, you shut down. Like, what's fueling that? What insecurities, what traumas in the past, what is fueling who I'm showing up as right now, which is replaceable, which is why myself and all of you are in the situations that we are in, right? And again, not to say that our wives don't have faults, because the relationship's results are the two of us. We, as irreplaceable men, are taking it on ourselves to get the marriage back, repair it, and reignite it. So it might not have been all our fault or all up to us, yet it's now up to us 100% to get that shit back on track and better than ever. And you get it by becoming the irreplaceable man and husband that you know you're capable of being. The one your wife wants to be with and doesn't want to leave. That's our tagline.
I know.
I love it. I'm proud of it.
You should be.
I feel really great about it. So let's go through a couple of these. Actually, what are your, do you want here?
I have to lean back. No, I don't want to be totally straight up.
Oh.
But I just have to lean back slowly because then my trigger response is like.
Guys, if you're watching, just you're at some point during this, Mary is going to tip on this chair, not fall over. She's going to tip, and her face is going to be like a snake just not walked into the room, like crawled in. So, okay. What are your thoughts on that? Like that trajectory, or that, like the what am I trying to say here? Not the foundation, the layers.
Yeah.
The layers of that. That's our job, guys, is to figure out the layers down to the fuel, down to the bedrock, down to the foundational aspect. So if you're an aggressor like me, why are you defending yourself and pushing so hard? If you're a ghost or a people pleaser, why are you giving up so fast? Like, who taught you that? Who programmed you for that? Right? Same with the aggressor guys. Who taught you that? Who programmed? Who did you model after? Where did you learn that stuff? Because that's it. Like, it got wired in your brain somehow and you didn't do it. So yeah, we're talking about communication. However, we really need to be talking about our childhoods and our traumas and our high school years and the shit that we learned from mom and dad and school and just society in general of how we operate safely, like how we keep ourselves safe.
Yes. Do you want to talk about this?
What are your thoughts on the layers? The layers. Look who it is.
Oh, hi, Brad.
Hey, Brad. What's up, buddy?
So funny.
Do you want to talk about the layers? Like, what?
Well, let's go into this and then we'll just kind of weave it all together.
We'll weave it. All right. Justin, I'll get you that assessment, buddy. Don't worry. Anybody else want the replaceable man assessment? Drop assessment and we'll get it to you. So here are the common communication challenges in a marriage. And we're going to start out easy, and then we're going to get into some depth. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not that much depth. It all is the same stuff as the trust types, really. It's just skills, habits, and mindset. And it's you building those for you, then applying them, actually using them in a consistent manner, right? Being consistent in action, and then stepping back, course correcting, like asking for help, raising your hand and saying, I fucked up, or I don't know what I'm doing, or like, some of you guys are in the shit, right? And some of you guys just have decent marriages that are stale and you want them to be amazing. So it doesn't matter where you are. This work is about you and you showing up as the irreplaceable version of you. So these are going to seem kind of basic, and they are, because that's all we're doing here. Like, it's the traumas and the stories we tell ourselves that make this thing more complicated. So first one.
Differences in communication styles.
You have to speak up. There's a mic here.
Differences in communication styles, which we kind of touched on that a little bit.
Right. Each person's got a different way of expressing themselves and interpreting information. So there's two factors there: how you express and how you interpret. And you've got to be aware of that. And then they lead to misunderstandings and miscommunication. Like, it's that simple. Just keep it that simple. So when you're thinking about it, it's like, well, my wife expresses herself like this and I express myself like this and it doesn't work. You're missing the other 50%, which is how your expression, your communication style is interpreted, because like Mare wasn't used to dealing with a replaceable man avatar, aggressor like me. Right. And so
you have a unique style.
Yes. You mean that I always wear black?
No, not your expression style.
See my shoes today?
I do see them.
They're cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a part of me that cares a lot and is very emotionally connected. And there's a part of me, like everybody on this call, that needs to protect themselves. You too, everybody that needs to protect themselves from being hurt. And the challenge is that you were the only person that could hurt me the most, right? Like and guys, I want you to think about that, who your wife represents to you. If you aren't that connected, why is that? If you're not communicating openly and deeply, why is that? These are questions you should be writing down. Like, if you're communicating too much, you're sharing way too much, you're aggressive, you're this, you're that, like why is that? We have to really understand the fundamentals there. And for me, it was, this person could crush me. As tough and aggressive as I might be, that was really only to protect this soft, vulnerable, insecure, scared interior that I was experiencing. Like, most aggressive guys are extremely intimidated,
right?
Extremely, maybe not extremely, like there's a soft part that they're guarding. And I was guarding that soft part, which is sometimes in a confrontation, like, I just want to retreat and cry. I can't show that because I won't be a man, and I won't be like, that was my bullshit programming, like a lot of guys have. So the way that you interpreted my communication was that I don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
And that I don't value your opinion, and that I don't care about your needs or your voice or any of that stuff. And that was completely the opposite. Yet I thought, if I let you dominate the conversation and I wasn't able to do and say what I needed to, then I would feel left out. I wouldn't feel in control. And for me, my power move, let's say, is I'm in control. And if I'm not in control, like, it's unpredictable. And the fucking results are up in the air. And I don't like that, because out of control means I'm going to feel scared. I'm going to feel fear. I'm going to feel like I'm going to die. I'm going to feel, whatever those scary thoughts are to me. So that is the genesis of the way that I communicated, and then you interpreted a certain way. And it really wasn't until like 2018 when we really started to share what this reaction meant, or like the way I said this. We're not going to keep arguing about how I said it, because I'm going to tell you why I said it like that, because now I'm doing the work on me and I'm clear, which allows you to understand me better, allows me to understand you better. And then you can interpret a little bit differently, especially if I'm like tired or, if I snap and say something quickly, you don't then interpret it and go, what an asshole. He's back in that fucking mode and I'm out.
Yeah.
With us being able to share openly, you're like, all right, I know what that's about. And then it allows another space to be opened where you can say, if you're feeling this way, because sometimes you don't, hey, what's this about? You want to talk about something? Because maybe I don't just come out with it. Maybe I just say it the way that I've been trained to say it. It keeps me feeling safe and in power. And if you don't say something, then maybe I'm not willing to share that kind of vulnerable information,
You also have a specific body language that happens.
And this is, demonstrate for the camera, please.
No, I can't. It's very unique to you. But like, those are things that I've like picked up on over the years. It is very unique to you. Like, when I know that like you've got something going on, you need a share.
Yeah.
You need to like clear something, but you're still kind of treading on it.
Yeah, sometimes it's really uncomfortable to share shit that I'm scared of, or that I'm feeling insecure about. Because if you then see me as weak, you may leave me, right? That was my thought process.
That's a very
that's bullshit toxic male
programming. Toxic masculinity.
Yeah, like if I can't provide, if I can't run this shit, if I can't protect, and if I show you my softer, more vulnerable side, like, will you trust that I can take care of this family? Or will that drive you away to find another man? Because all you're getting from me is the aggression and the anger and then the fear. You're not getting the real, irreplaceable, authentic me. But then I'm thinking like, well, that's better than sharing, because if I share and I'm open and honest and she leaves, like, well, I'm really fucked, Now she's got my card. What do you think about that? Now she's got my card and she can play me on it anytime she wants.
That projecting that onto.
Not fair.
No.
I know.
I mean, that doesn't serve anyone.
No.
In the relationship. That
was my thought process.
I know. And look where it had us. Yeah.
And again, not to say that you didn't have faults in there.
No.
We're just focused. This is called the irreplaceable man.
My anxiety probably created more issues than not.
Yeah, well, think about it. And this might be similar for some guys out there. We worked together since like basically a year into our marriage. Technically, like right around a year and a half, maybe.
A year and a half. Almost 2 years.
All right, so almost 2 years.
But that had been our first year of marriage was struggle.
Yeah.
Our second year of marriage was more struggling. It was like a year and a half, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we started working together and we sat across the desk from each other every single day.
And we went home together and our problems never left us. And
we
added a kid.
Yeah. What I think
2
is
years later,
interesting is we never had this discussion, but it always happened this way. We would never drive to the office together. It was like a mile from our house.
Yeah.
We would never, ever drive together. And I think like subconsciously we knew that we had to have some kind of space and separation.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to listen to Howard and you weren't into it.
But it's like for a mile, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just needed that space.
It was more, it was like 3 miles.
But you gotta understand though, that like even back then, like you're talking about like 2015.
No,
14?
even earlier.
Oh, to the warehouse office?
Yeah.
Yeah. There were still days where I was crying in my car. Like I was really emotional. I was really scared. I was really like, how the fuck do I do this? And it goes back to the trust in myself,
Mhm.
right? I didn't trust that I could deliver on really anything at a high level that I had envisioned. And then what do most men do? Most men put the money in front of themselves, their family in front of themselves, their job in front of themselves. And yeah, they might play golf or tennis or go have a hobby or, four-wheeling or something or whatever they might do. But then they get lost in all that shit.
Mhm.
And I felt like I don't know how to continue this. This is like 2014. I don't know how to I don't know how to continue and keep consistent with the level of income that we have. I'm also really scared of this other side that's starting to reveal itself.
Mhm.
I'm really angry every day. I'm taking it out on you. I'm taking it out on other people. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any outlets. I'm stuck in this really vicious cycle that the money makes it a little bit better.
Right.
And that was really my thought process. Like, as long as I fuck me, fuck you, fuck everything else, as long as I just keep driving the money will just buy me time. It'll buy us opportunity. It'll buy us some options. And I talk to a lot of guys with money and they'll go, I didn't have to deal with the problems because money was in the middle of it. It was the trip, it was the vacation, it was the present, it was the house, the cars, the this. And I talk about this all the time. Like, I knew that if I could get that in between me and you, it would give me time, which it didn't. Like, it led to a downfall, which is kind of crazy. I just want to make that comment because that's what so many men are dealing with. Yeah, like I just yeah, I don't want to go on a tangent there. It's 10:40. I want to go through all these. Justin's got a question. Justin, I'm going to answer your question in just a sec, bro. We got like 6 or 7 of these. Here's number 2 for common communication challenges in marriage.
Lack of trust.
Yeah. We talked about this for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
When trust is broken, it is massively difficult to communicate honestly and openly, and you and your partner are going to be hesitant to share your thoughts and feelings, which can lead to compounded communication breakdowns. So
yeah,
let's say everybody on this call, I don't know who's on this call still. Everybody on this call right now, and I'm going to guess 98% of the people listening are in a cycle of trust and communication breakdowns. That's why connection is going to be last, because connection only happens when trust and communication are present. Unless it's sexual or physical. But I can tell you right now, after 10 years, there's not many couples that are like ravaging each other in that physical, I mean, there might be.
I'm sure there are.
Not in these type of circumstances.
Oh, yeah. No, not in these kinds of. So you got.
No, there's plenty that are still like physically attracted like they were in the beginning. They also don't have communication and trust challenges, right? They just don't. So the next one is going to be unresolved conflicts. At some point, guys, your wife has been giving you data, whether it's speaking, non-speaking, whether it's leaving, whether it's divorce papers, whether it's notes, whether it's just subtle or major. There are hints that there's things that need to be resolved, that there's things in the way of the relationship. And conflicts not being resolved can absolutely linger and cause additional and ongoing communication and trust challenges, which is that bullshit cycle. So a part of your job through this type of training is going to be learning how to ask, and we're going to talk about that next week, like learning how to ask and bring up challenges that you face and resolve conflicts that have happened in the past, because they're landmines and you don't want to have paved over and put new grass down on the field of you that is your marriage, and all of a sudden you forgot to tackle a couple unresolved things and bam, they explode and there's carnage. So like, it's just a negative cycle, right? And what that leads to, and it may be present for some of you, is it breaks. And I like to associate it, and you guys have heard me potentially say this before, like if you think about a walking bridge, like a wooden walking bridge over, a stream or something that's made with 6x6s, let's say, and it's like engineered and it's reinforced. It's not some like bullshit bridge. Like, it's reinforced. It looks good. Walking across it, you don't need to check on that thing hardly at all, because there's not enough movement, torque, and momentum, pressure. Well, if you start riding bikes across it, now there's a little bit more weight, right? A little bit more pressure. Now you start driving cars across it, you need to check on that thing more and more and more, because there's a lot more give and tweak and torque. And that may be where your relationship is right now. It's just there, and you know that the bridge can handle the cars, but you're not checking the girders underneath. You're not checking the bolts, the screws, the nails. You're not checking on this thing. So the moment that a train tries to drive over this, or a truck for that matter, a tractor trailer, it will disintegrate that bridge, because you haven't paid attention to anything but painting the exterior, right? Which is where the money conversation comes in. You have done all surface level activity, yet you haven't looked up underneath to see the real guts of this thing and to resolve the cracked joist that's holding up the middle, or the bolts that have been sheared off and it's missing a nut, or, whatever it might be. The connection to the either part of the ground has been severed and it's just kind of floating, but it's okay for right now. It's okay for right now as long as it's walkers or bikers. And you can keep doing your surface level bullshit as long as you want walkers and bikers type of life. But if you want cars and eventually tractor trailers riding across that bridge, it must be checked and it must be maintained at a much deeper level. Whereas painting the outside of it is no longer just okay. It's just one of the 25 things you got to do. It takes fucking work and effort. So you got to bring up those unresolved conflicts. It's the same thing as getting uncomfortable, hanging off the side of it and looking up underneath and going, oh shit, we have a cracked joist. Like we have a cracked girder. Like we gotta change this, and addressing it and realizing that trying to change out a beam is going to be hard, right? Trying to do that above the ground or over a piece of water or something is going to be hard. Just like the unresolved conflicts that you bring up, there's going to be challenge. Yet if you don't bring them up, it will disintegrate. And then when you get to the end, which inevitably will happen, you can't get that bridge back. You have to rebuild all from everything. Like you got to build scratch. So just take that analogy and just think about it. Is there an unresolved conflict that you've got to bring up? Well, if that's the case, then we're going to talk about it in our training of how to approach that and who you need to be in order to get that done. It's not just about saying it. It's about being the person that can embody it, and your wife can feel safe and heard and valued to then communicate openly back. Yes?
Yes.
What's the next one, darling?
Stress and external factors.
Yep. Work, financial, health, could all put a strain on a relationship.
And those, I think that's probably the for me, that's when you have to like communicate the most. You okay there?
Yeah, my lid's cracked. Yep, go ahead.
Your reaction. External fact, that's when you have to communicate the most, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
And be the most open.
Yeah. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
agree.
straightforward.
I mean, we talked about financial trust in our last podcast from last week. And if you're listening just on the podcast, that'll come out in 3 weeks. And it's big. Like the financial piece, whenever people get on a strategy call and I have a question, I say, how's your financial situation at home? Because that is the truck on the bridge.
Yeah.
That could be the truck on the bridge. You know, if you've never really had money in the family, and that might not be it. Yet for a lot of the guys, like excessive debt that they haven't talked about, things like that, and you haven't communicated your financial relationship with money. You haven't communicated the debts or the additional accounts you have, or the spending that you do without her knowing. Go back and listen to that episode, guys. I mean, just scroll back. If you're in the group, just scroll back to last Monday and hear us talk about building financial trust again. It's huge, massive. All right. Emotional barriers is the next one. Emotional barriers to super strong emotions such as anger or fear, like we talked about earlier. Also sadness, it can interfere with effective communication. So it's a bomb. anger, and like,
and also being like, I think we've encountered this a couple times, like being offended by, maybe offended isn't the right word, but getting mad at your partner's emotions versus supporting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, I think that creates a huge challenge in communicating, because then there's no safe space.
You want to comment on that more? Because that's really good. Guys, take note of that.
Just, when I had bad days in the past, you would get like offended. Like, how dare you have a bad day? How dare you have emotion? Like, you need to be like strong and push harder and be this. And it was almost like you were embarrassed that I was having emotions, or that I couldn't sustain some like level of like emotional control that only knew what it was, but you didn't even know what it was, but you would just get like pissy with me. And so that didn't create a safe space for me to be able to come to you and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm going through. You would just be like, meh.
You know why? I mean, you know why. I'll
Yeah.
tell the guys, because when you broke down, I was like, oh fuck, if she can't be strong for all this family, like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Because I was faking it for a good majority of those early years. Then when you would get emotional, like not even one, it scared me, because I thought, well, I felt like I was on the verge of a breakdown constantly. And I thought, well, who's going to care for me? Who's going to take care of things? If she can't handle her shit and I can't handle my shit, are we just a total mess? Because you were so strong and so poised for so long. I wasn't offended. I would just get scared at your emotions. So I'm like, oh, she's breaking down. Then I'm breaking down. Are we going down here? Is this family just...
Are we going down?
Do we just need to throw in the towel here?
No. But you have to think about that. Do you have a charger? But you have to think about that, because like,
I want the guys need to think about it. I didn't realize it at the time. I would just get offended because I'm like, what are you all emotional for? Your life. And that's what I would say to you. Remember, this is where the money comes back in. I'd go, your life is amazing. You have everything you want.
Yeah.
Like, we have a ton of cash coming in. We had a cool house. Like,
but those are just external things.
I know, but I thought that they were the value that I brought, because that's how I thought I added value, because I wasn't emotionally connected. I couldn't speak openly and vulnerably. I couldn't communicate effectively. I wasn't supportive of your feelings, but I could deliver money at a high level and opportunity. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good.
Why
are you yawning?
No.
Oh, because you're like making these faces at me, and I'm like, is it me?
No, there's something in my head.
Okay.
Jesus. You getting a little paranoid?
No, I'm like, are you trying to tell me something?
No, I will just tell you if I'm going to tell you
Okay.
something.
I don't know. We're live. Maybe you're trying to.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
we had a good
they
turnout
can hear
today.
it. No, but I think emotional barriers are huge. Like, you have to you really got to think about the space that you're creating for your partner.
Yeah.
And also them to you. And if that's why you don't communicate openly with them, that's something that you have to discuss and, have that conversation with them. Like, hey, I'd like you to be this person that I can, and not that you got to just like unload all your shit onto your partner. Like, they can't bear all
the weight,
yeah, but you can share it with them. Yeah.
The thing that we tell the mastermind members in the rules is, you're in charge of bandaging your own wound, right? Your cut's bleeding out. Great. Don't bring that shit to your wife.
Yeah.
Don't come to your wife in a full out emotional breakdown in the beginning. Bandage your shit and come and say, hey, listen, I got this cut. It's all bandaged up. I'd just like to talk to you about it. Because then you're not bleeding all over her and she's in panic mode.
Well, and also if you do bleed all over your partner, you also have to have the awareness to circle back and have the discussion about why you bled all over, and how that moment played out and all of that. You can't just be like, well, and then okay, I'm fine now, and move on.
Read the next one.
Lack of communication skills. Effective
That's
communication.
pretty simple.
Oh yeah, like active listening, empathy, assertiveness. What?
Oh, I mean, we're gonna learn that together. I want to make sure we get Justin's question answered. Lack of communication skills is one of those does.
Yeah.
We'll learn those together over the next 4 weeks. The last one is different priorities. So when you and your partner have different priorities, it's going to be challenging to communicate about important issues because you just don't understand what each other is getting at.
Mhm.
You know, you don't understand what their mission or their vision for their life is, and they don't really understand it. So there's going to be different priorities. So it's going to lead to a misunderstanding and a lack of understanding about each other's needs and desires. Guys, this is not all very complicated. We have to strip everything back.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing right now. Got to strip everything back. So those are the most common communication challenges in the marriage. I want to start there. I'm going to answer Justin's question real quick. Justin asked the question, how do I get my wife to see what true meaning of separation is instead of her in her mind, we're done and move on? I mean, Justin, you and I have talked about this before. The separation is her telling you it's got to change or this is what's going to happen. And so it's not that she's just, we're done and moving on. She's telling you, you got to make these changes. So if you're showing up as, and this isn't just for Justin, this is for everybody. If you're showing up as the same exact guy that your wife has been used to, and whether your marriage is stale or it's just kind of good, or it's just kind of surviving and you're just getting through and you're just kind of talking about surface level shit, or there's a separation or a VPO and a divorce in place, like she's saying to you, I want you to show up as the man I know you to be. And if your behavior and your actions and your attitude are the same shit that got you into this mess and you keep repeating them, then you know the exact reason of why this thing is going the direction it's going. That's not just for Justin, that's for everybody. You have to make the changes in your behavior, your mindset, your attitude, your skills, your habits. You've got to make those shifts and changes, or the results will not be different because you are literally running the same formula. If you keep running the same formula, you'll keep getting the same result, and your wife will have an attitude of, fuck it, clearly he's not going to do it, because the actions speak much louder than the words. If your audio doesn't match your video, if you're saying something and not doing it, if you're not consistent with your doing and your activity and who you're being, then you're in the definition of insanity, because you're asking for a different result without changing the inputs of the computer. It's like you being pissed off at a calculator because you typed the shit in wrong. That's not the answer. And the calculator can't tell you, but like somebody sitting next to you could go, yeah, well, you were trying to do 10 plus 10. You did 10 plus 11. That's why it's not getting you 20. It's getting you 21. You're like, no, this fucking calculator should know.
It's the crap in,
know.
crap out.
Right. It doesn't know. So if your formula is getting you a result that you don't want, in your formula, the main operator is you. The main domino is you. You must change, you must shift, you must grow, you must elevate and evolve. That's what we're doing here. That's our entire mission, is to help you evolve into and operate as authentically the irreplaceable version of you, not the person that's been showing up. Yes. All right.
Correct.
We are getting tight on time, and I want to wrap it. There's a bunch of other stuff. Look at all these other things we had to talk about. Look at this. There's
that you wanted to talk about all of that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was ambitious, Ian.
Yeah.
That was very ambitious.
I had like 25 things, guys. I will spread those out over the next couple of weeks, or if you want,
it would have.
You can get all of this by coming to the Thursday training. And then what's cool after that is anybody that shows up for the Thursday training, I will email you and everybody on the call a copy of my notes, so you have them. And my notes are very organized. So show up to the Thursday training. So I know guys, they'll text me after this and go, hey, I watched your podcast. Can I get those notes? And I go, no. You got to come to the Thursday training. Why wouldn't you? You get me on there to answer questions and to talk to you and to give you some little bit of guidance.
Are you doing the training this week?
I'm not doing the training this week. No, I am.
Are you?
I'd like to.
Well, you gotta let
I'm
the
gonna
people know.
I'm gonna be at an event this week, so we're gonna play it by ear. If you'll hear from me, I'll drop it in the group. If I'm not gonna make it, I'll drop it in the group. All right, peeps, that is it. Really appreciate all of you joining us from the group. We had like 20 people on there. It's amazing. And then in podcast land, really appreciate all your support. We've had so many people reach out who have listened to our old podcast and who are just really getting so much value out of this evolution of the podcast. And we're super appreciative because it holds us massively accountable. You know,
Mhm.
tons
It does.
of stuff for you guys just to get you started on your journey. The replaceable man assessment, drop assessment in here. I'll get that over to you. We got our weekly couples planner, which we didn't do last night.
No, we were
I passed out like
toast.
8.
We had a fair day yesterday.
Yeah. School fair.
A school fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
So guys, we have a ton of free resources just to get you started. There's no pitch, there's no bullshit, there's no nothing. Just jump on a free strategy call with me. I'll drop the link in here and just find out, some direction and some structure for yourself, just for your next steps forward. And I'll be as helpful as I can. So if you need us, just go to irreplaceableman.com, download the free 12-step guide to becoming an irreplaceable husband, book a free strategy call with me, and you're on your way. Because look, irreplaceable men take action, right? It's a true sign of strength when somebody raises their hand and said, I need help. True sign of strength.
Mm-hmm.
True sign of leadership too. And we're here for you. So whatever you need, let us know. We really appreciate you listening and supporting us and holding us accountable to being irreplaceable people to each other, yet also irreplaceable to you, the audience. Do you have a sign off?
Oh, God. I hadn't thought about one.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today.
Good.
That's
better than
a
last
class.
time.
What did I say last time?
I think you were like, thanks. So this is evolution.
I'll spend some time brainstorming witty sign-offs.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.